In this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to make glass style seals. I have hot glue that's lightly colored. These just came from Amazon. They have a nice assortment and I think the colors are really pretty. I'm also going to use my Calypso wax. This wax is transparent when it's melted or when it's a very thin layer. I use this to protect the seals that I work with. I never put hot glue directly on a seal. Part of that is that I work with highly detailed seals like this forget-me-not seal that's very three-dimensional, and I also work with antiques. You can do this with just one melter. You'll start with your Calypso, or you can have two melters like I have here. Let's do this. And then we're going to cut some of the hot glue like this. Voila. Now that we have both the Calypso wax melted and the hot glue melted, we're going to work with silicone. There are two different silicons I have here. This is the pretty one that people use for seals. I do use these. My absolute favorite though are just silicone baking sheets, really cheap ones that I cut into smaller squares. I love how stretchy these are, and for this technique it really helps to have something stretchy. I mentioned that I work with Calypso wax first to protect the seal. If you're working with antique seals or ones that are highly detailed, hot glue will get stuck in the seal and it can damage it, and so or it can just be really difficult to clean. So I start first with Calypso, pour it out like normal, and then just like I would with any sealing wax, it works just like a normal sealing wax. I go ahead and press it. One of the benefits of the silicone is that I can press from the back side of the silicone to get those details nicely in there. And then I begin to roll the edge like this. And I keep the wax on there. I can work with the same silicone or I could work with one of these pads, and I just start to rub the edge of the seal. This is a technique that I developed to protect the face of the seal. Since this wax is very thin, it's transparent and it's going to make it so that you can see through it. Next we go with the hot glue, and we'll do this as a peel and stick. I like to just pour a little bit here. It takes a while to pour it because it's not, it doesn't melt as much with a candle as normal sealing wax does, but that's totally fine. It's still moldable. And then I just press my seal with the Calypso wax on it, nice and even around the edges, and I wait for it to cool. Okay, I've let this cool about 5 minutes, and you can see that it is now complete. And it's hard to see that it's two different waxes. You have the sealing wax in the middle, the Calypso, and then around the edge you have the hot glue. You could just keep it like this and put on the sticker, but you may notice that it bends more than normal sealing wax would bend. So for example, different image, but this is made out of sealing wax. It's flexible, it'll go through the mail, but not as flexible as this. Even though there's the Calypso here that's sealing wax, it's a little more flexible than I would like. So that's where I get into my next step. This is totally optional, but I use a top coat of a UV nail polish. Any type of UV gloss paint will work. Nail polishes are just great because they're such a small size and they're so easy to use. I take this clear gloss and I paint it around the edge of the seal. This adds to that billowy, glossy look that the seal has. It also, though, stiffens up that edge of the seal a little bit so that it actually will feel like normal sealing wax, not hot glue. I care a lot about the texture of things that I make just because seals are so tactile. And often when I do this, people don't know that it has a little bit of paint on there, but it does give it just that little extra bit of gloss and stiffen it up so that it looks like sealing wax, but also a little bit more like glass as well, because you can kind of see through it into the clear wax. This cures by using a UV light, so you have a little bit more time to work with it than if you were just working with regular nail polish. And this allows you time to clean up. So I'm just taking a little toothpick here. Not that people would really notice this, but kind of a perfectionist sometimes. So I like to get it as clean as possible. And then I have one of these UV lights that I just plug in and have it go for 2 minutes. So 60 seconds and then 60 seconds again. I'll come back once I'm done curing it. Okay, now it's cured. You can see it looks really beautiful. You can flip it over and cure the back side as well, just in case you have any of the paint there. My next step for this specific seal is to mount it with an adhesive. So I just take one of these 3M adhesives and I put it on the back. And when I remove it, it will still remain transparent, so it still looks great. And then I'm also just going to paint it quickly to bring out all of those details. This is my Tester's enamel paint. I teach this method in the Floral Excellence course and in my master class. The Floral Excellence course goes really in depth into working with transparent waxes like Calypso. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, highly recommend the Floral Excellence course. But either way, you'll probably want to know about this paint. I tend not to use markers. I like using Tester's enamel paint because it is so luminous and you can just see how beautiful all those details come out. You want to make sure you crack a window when you work with this, just so you don't breathe in any of the fumes. The end result, though, is so pretty. I also have a painting course that's a great short course. It covers all of the different markers, the enamel paints. It also goes into acrylic paint, so if you want more of a textured look, how to do that. I'd say in general, just the gold Testers is probably the bottle that I use the most, but there are a lot of other really beautiful colors and shades, and not every brand is right for every color, so that course also just really breaks it down. But if you're just doing gold, the Tester's gold enamel paint is really hard to beat. So now it's perfectly done, and you can see if we remove that back that it will be nice and clear. And you really don't see the Calypso because it's such a thin layer in there, but you can tell now it's nice stiff seal, beautiful glossy edges, and ready to use. I'd love to see what you make. Do send me a photo or tag me, and if you have questions, you can let me know in the comments. Thanks.